Speaking this evening, the Pope reiterated that earlier warning against the more aggressive forms of secularism, calling on the faithful to go public with the case against what he terms a jungle of self-destructive and arbitrary freedoms. But the Prime Minister, whilst welcoming the Pope, defended the country's record.
Well, I think we are a very tolerant society, and we should be a tolerant society, and part of that is actually respecting people of faith and respecting faith-based organisations and what they do, and recognising that they're part of a big and rich society. And I think that's something we should celebrate while the Pope is here. We should see faith-based organisations of a great benefit to our society, and we should see people's faith as an opportunity for them rather than as some sort of problem. I think that...
Well, now to discuss that issue of secularism, with us from London, Father Christopher Jameson. He's the director of the Catholic Church's National Office for Vocation, and Andrew Copson, Chief Executive of the British Humanist Association. Father Jameson. Oh, hang on a minute. Let's go down to the airport first. I'll come to you both in a moment. We've got the Pope there on the tarmac. Now, of course, the next stage of this journey takes him down to London and eventually to Birmingham. There's the big mass to be held in Hyde Park. There is an event at Westminster Abbey. This is a pretty taxing trip for a man of 82. He looked all right on the stage here. He looks all right there. There's a bit of ceremonial at the bottom of the steps here. There's no Alex Salmon there to say goodbye because he was here to say hello. But we'll go back now to our two guests waiting in London to discuss this question of secularism. Father Jameson, I'm very sorry to have interrupted you there.
That's okay.
Can I just ask you to put flesh on the bones of this argument by the Pope? Give me an example of where this secularism, this aggressive atheism is attacking our society.
Well, it's important to distinguish between the secularism of the British state, which is now an established fact, which Catholics and other faith groups fully respect. But there is a new militant secularism that's grown recently. I mean, I'm thinking, for example, of a group who invaded the pulpit of the Archbishop of Canterbury, no less, on Easter morning, that most sacred day for Christians, and they barged into his pulpit, a dozen or so of them, and just took over. And that struck me as a perfect example of militant secularism.
Andrew Copson, then, do you see victory in your sights as a humanist?
Well, I don't think so, not particularly as a humanist, because I think people of religious beliefs as well as humanists welcome secularism. I think that the Pope's statements were a parody of the sort of secularism that we aspire to in Britain. Secularism is something that allows people of all different religions and non-religious beliefs to have their freedom. What the Pope seemed to be complaining about was that equality for people diminished the privilege for Christianity. Well, protecting privilege by arguing against secularism, I think, is just a disingenuous statement to make.
I think the point was he used the term militant secularism, and that example I gave of a group invading the pulpit of the Archbishop of Canterbury is surely a very good example of it.
Well, I've never heard of that
well,
myself,
it
it
was a group led by Peter Tatchell, who's a member of the British Humanist Association.
No, he's not.
Sorry, I apologise for that.
Right.
He's associated with the Protest the Pope coalition that you're part of. And it seems to me that's a perfect example of this militancy, which is quite unacceptable.
Well, I think if that is what the Pope was talking about, then it hardly constitutes a political trend.
Well, it does constitute a trend in British society. There was also the TV series called Religion, the Root of All Evil. Well, this is an extraordinary thing that should be said.
Well, I mean, everyone has extremists. The Pope this morning associated Nazism, atheism with Nazism. I mean, that too is an extreme statement, but that's part of freedom in a secular society.
Let me just pause you there. Let me pause you there and let Father Jameson answer that.
Which point am I answering there? Sorry, about extremism of all kinds. Hello? I'm losing touch.
Yes, I think the fascinating thing is that if it had been an attack on the internet age, on people burying themselves in their computers, detaching themselves from society, that perhaps might have had a sort of a greater ring with people. Do you think he is actually connecting people with people when he says this, Father Jameson?
I think he is, because I think that most British people would subscribe to the view that they are spiritual, if not religious. But they still value Christianity in this country. There are still many members of the Anglican Church who aren't necessarily regular churchgoers, but who value the presence of religion precisely in the public sphere, and who do worry that there appears to be a trend to want to remove religion from the public sphere. And what the Pope was doing today in his opening address with Her Majesty the Queen, for example, was saying that people like William Wilberforce, again another great Anglican, was motivated by his Christian faith to enter into the public arena of public affairs to work for the abolition of slavery. And he held that up along with Florence Nightingale as examples of great British people who were motivated by their religious faith to take on the public sphere.
Yeah, but let me just go to our humanist Andrew Cobson, because I'm just wondering whether the Pope is aware of the big growth in radical ecumenical churches in London, for example. There are very large Baptist and other churches taking force, particularly black churches. So it would hardly be that Christianity as a whole is on retreat.
Well, no, I think that's right. I mean, I don't think the Pope seemed particularly well informed about the current situation in Britain generally. I'll go back to what I said about earlier. I mean, I'm from the British Humanist Association, which is the largest organisation in the country promoting secularism, and I don't recognise this description of militant secularism at all. What we work with religious groups towards shared common goals, for example. What secularism is it's a political commitment that allows everyone to flourish. Now, it seems to me that people being sectarian extreme today, well, the Pope, for example, associating atheism with Nazism, accusing secularists of being intolerant, I think that those were outrageous statements that were inappropriate.
He didn't actually make either of those statements. He simply pointed, if you look at the text clearly, he said that Nazism tried to suppress God. That was a factual statement. He did not say that atheism leads to Nazism. That's a parody.
Andrew Cobson, we're going to have to leave it there. And Father Jameson too, thank you very much indeed. Quickly to the plane, they're rolling away the steps. There you are, Alitalia, papal shield on the coat of arms there on the wall of the Alitalia plane. And the Pope through the window, there he is, do you see?